Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another Star Wars video. I just want to start by saying it's a real pleasure to have you here again my friend, and thank you for stopping by for yet another transmission. So today, as you probably guessed, we have some huge reveals for the Mandalorian and Grogu. The movie is just over a week away, and I think it's safe to say that over the last few days there hasn't been too much to celebrate. Ahsoka Season 2 being delayed until early 2027 really bummed me out. I don't know why it got me so down, because with Lucasfilm these things happen all the time. 99.999% of my hope is in Ahsoka and Star Wars Starfighter. It cannot be overstated how important the second season is for the future of Star Wars. Characters who originate in the Clone Wars and Rebels, but also Baylan and Shin. But unfortunately today we're not talking about Ahsoka my friends. I could talk about the show all day, but we have some big reveals for the Mandalorian and Grogu. We have the new track listing by Ludwig Göransson, which I'm going to go through and break down, but first, some huge comments from Jon Favreau. Jon begins by confirming that when Grogu nodded after Ahsoka said the name Yoda, it's because he knew him. But not just this, Jon Favreau flat out says there's a good chance Yoda trained Grogu. Not in a master-Padawan dynamic because Grogu was far too young, but in the way that Yoda trained other Jedi younglings, in groups. And we have to wonder if Yoda had a special connection to Grogu. Even if he's not his biological dad, there's no denying their species was scarce, and Yoda, and by extension Yaddle for a few years, might have had a special bond with Grogu. They might have been extra protective of him on this basis. And Jon goes on to say this: he's not on the typical Jedi path, but he's trained with some of the best Jedi teachers around. We know for certain he studied with Luke, and there are implications he's crossed paths with Yoda. Are they teasing something for the movie? Could we see Yoda's ghost? And in a bit of backtracking, I guess you could call it, Favreau doesn't want fans to think that just because Grogu is no longer a Jedi, that he's abandoned the Jedi ways. He says that in the movie, Grogu still has Jedi discipline, and just like in some of the promo material, they're really trying to evoke a Yoda connection. It's very explicit. But now my friends, let's talk about some potential spoilers. The soundtrack listing by Ludwig Göransson has just been released. We're going to go through each one, and I can tell you based on the first 30 minutes and based on the trailers, the leaks and everything we know, these are in order of how they appear in the film. And you know, speculation drives the fandom, so whether we're right or wrong, it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's dive straight in. Big spoiler warning, but the opening of the movie is the Ice Planet, a meeting of remnants, and that's when Din and Grogu infiltrate. And when that happens, when Mando takes out the snowtroopers and the AT-AT pilot, that is when we get the track, The Mandalorian and Grogu, because it's Din who kicks ass first, and then Grogu's revealed and he joins him. He jumps on Mando's back. The remnant warlord escapes on the INT-4, but then eventually Mando takes him down. Then Din grabs Grogu, they notice the detonators, he ignites his jetpack, and Zeb Orrelios comes in and rescues them. And then they're dropped on a Delphi base. Apparently the opening titles start rolling. We get starring Pedro Pascal, Sigourney Weaver, Martin Scorsese, and then the following track is titled The Next Mission. This is the one given by Colonel Ward. This is the hunt for the mysterious Janu coin. So then Din is sent to Nal Hutta, where he comes across the twins, because in exchange for rescuing Jabba's son Rotta, Din will be given info on the whereabouts of Lord Janu. And then Shikari. Shikari is the planet we assumed was going to be Nar Shaddaa. This is where Rotta fights as a gladiator, and where we find Martin Scorsese's character who now has a name, Hugo Durant, cousin of Rio Durant, something that was already confirmed by Jon Favreau. So then the next three tracks are pretty self-explanatory. We have Rotta, the pit fight, and Rotta chase. Then, tracking Lord Janu, another clip that's been shared online, so Din does get the information. And I'm just making an assumption based on the way the landscape looks, but I think Lord Janu's hideout, his mansion, is on the other side of Adelphi. So in the end, with the help of Zeb, I think they capture him and bring him to Ward. But this is where I think a few problems arise because, as we know, Lord Janu is going to make an escape. There were rumours he's going to face off against Trapper Wolf in a space fight, and later we know that Janu captures Grogu. And I'm also wondering if Janu coin is working with the Hutts. because after the mission to rescue Rotta, Din is kidnapped by them. He goes back to his home on Navarro, and he's captured by Embo. We already know that Embo is working with the Hutts, but we have to wonder the reason they want Din back. If he upheld his end of the deal, then what's the problem? Did the Hutt twins not get what they wanted? Did Rotta run away again? Or do they simply want Din to work for them? Are they going to force him into the ring to be a gladiator of sorts? We know how much the Hutts like to gamble. Or is it because Din captured someone who they're working with? Lord Janu is not beating the Zinj accusations. So then we have track 14, which is We Got to Find Him. This is probably the Anzellans and Grogu. This is the start of their rescue mission. Then track 15 is The Helmet. That's another scene that's been released online. And then we have track titles which start to get a bit darker. Track 16 is Go Kid. I think this is referring to the jungle scene where Din and Grogu briefly reunite. I think Din has fought the monster at this point, he escapes to the Nal Hutta jungle, and he's chased by the Hutt sentry droids, and he tells Grogu to leave, to go kid, as this track says. And I believe it's at this point in the film we get Grogu's meditations, his Yoda moment, the walking stick, the fear, the contemplation, and coming across someone who might be a Force mentor. And you never know, this might trigger more flashbacks. We might see the end of Grogu's Order 66 flashback. But now, my friends, we have to talk about track 17, Grogu's World. I've seen fan theories left, right, and center about this one. Some people think we might see the Yoda species' homeworld. I would be very, very surprised if that's true. But the way I interpret this is they're not referring to Grogu's world as in Grogu's planet, but rather Grogu's world as in these scenes are centered around Grogu's mind, all the emotions he's going through. Then we have another line from the trailer which is, do we run or do we fight? Tracks 19 and 20 is when I think the New Republic intervenes, Colonel Ward, the Adelphi Rangers, and as Sigourney Weaver teased, Star Wars characters we haven't seen in a very long time. Could it be Wedge? Could it be Nine Numb? Could you imagine if the Millennium Falcon swoops in? And then finally, and this one can be interpreted as either ominous or passing down the torch, your turn, Grogu. By the end of the film, is Grogu ready to take on the galaxy on his own? I'm not going to suggest that Din Djarin dies because it honestly seems like such a fake out, considering the social media accounts are posting about it. So I'm inclined to think there is a close call, but Din himself survives. And so this could just be in reference to how far Grogu has evolved and how far he's come. He might even surpass Mandalorian Apprentice. He might be ready for his next trials. So lots of exciting tidbits to look forward to. That's my interpretation based on all the available knowledge. What do you think? Did you enjoy this breakdown? And are you looking forward to the movie next week? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, my dear friends. And if you enjoyed this one, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new. Check me out on socials. And may the Force be with you always.